Hello and welcome back to Mac at the Movies. Today I will be reviewing for you the 2016 film from Stage 6 Films, A Street Cat Named Bob. This movie was based on a book of the same title. It was directed by Roger Spottiswoode, who also did Turner and Hooch. And The Sixth Day, I believe Tomorrow Never Dies, one of the 007 films. And it stars Luke Treadway as James, the main character. Ruta Gimenez, who plays Betty, the eventual love interest. And then Joanne Froggatt, who plays Val, who is the the caretaker for James. And then, of course, you have Bob the Cat, played by the Bob in real life. This film is set in London. James is a drug addict. He's homeless. He's busking for money. If you don't know what busking is, he's out there playing guitar, trying to sing, do what he can to make money as a musician. He has an OD with a friend in a car, and he's found, taken to a hospital. He was taking methadone treatments, and a buddy of his talked him into some heroin, and that has a very bad combination, cause an overdose. He ends up getting taken to the hospital where he finds out that he has hepatitis, and at that point Val finds out that he doesn't have any family or direct friends that can be of help, a good influence for him. So she works with an agency to find a place for him to stay for a more stable ground. While James moves into this flat, his first night there, he's taking a bath. He hears a strange noise. He grabs a boot and decides he's going to defend his new homestead, where enters Bob through a kitchen window, and he's found eating cornflakes on the kitchen floor. So, James is, he's out busking. He befriends Bob at that point in time, lets him stay the night, and then the next day he goes out busking. While he's busking, he's getting kicked out of the area that he's playing music, as just being a nuisance, or so he's being told. As this is happening, you see a man in the background. You find out is his father, kind of ignoring him. He has this bit of shame for him. And then James sees his father and kind of runs after him, just to say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm getting clean," doing all that. James' stepmother shows up and, "What are you doing here?" So she's not a big fan of him. They just, James's father gives him some money and says, "Here you go, get yourself something to eat," and then walks off. That's that. James returns back to his flat to find that Bob had been attacked by a dog or something, and he was hurt. So he's trying to look around for someone who can help him, and that's when Betty enters the picture as one of the characters, and she suggests that he take Bob to the vet, gives him some information for a free vet. So he takes Bob to the vet. He gets treated, spends the last bit of money he does have for the medication for Bob, the antibiotics, so an infection doesn't grow up and get worse. So he spends the last bit of his food money on that and does what he can to survive at that point. Bob eventually gets better, and James is trying to go busking. Bob follows him and ends up getting on the bus with him and just hops up on James's lap, rides to where he's going to go busk for that day. And then you find out that he does a lot better when Bob's there, because people are interested in the cat. They think he's cute, or the situation's funny. So while he's out, his old buddy that he OD'd with at the beginning of the film shows up, asks for money. James gives his friend money and says, use this for food, don't buy drugs. And he's like, okay. Later, James returns back to his home. He's talking with Betty, asks her to come over for dinner. Betty declines, but offers to cook him dinner as she is a vegan. And he doesn't really know what vegans eat, so hence her declining him and offering. So James finds out during their dinner that Betty's brother had recently died in the flat that she currently resides, and that she's not a big fan of people who take drugs. He had OD'd in the apartment, and she's just trying to do whatever she can to still remain close to her brother. And she does that by staying there and trying to just live life and appreciate life all that bit more. After the dinner, James shows up at his father's house for a New Year's Eve meal, just to come over for New Year's Eve, brought a bottle of champagne, meant to have a good time. His father's like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. His two half-sisters start jumping around, yelling at him, calling him a junkie. The stepmother comes in. They see Bob. One of the kids is allergic to cats, and Bob freaks out, starts running around, breaks a vase. It becomes a big ordeal, and they're asked to leave. So they leave, and they find, James goes back to his house. He's clearly upset about what had happened. Next day, he goes back out busking with Bob when a couple of bullies come up with dogs on a leash, and one of the dogs is kind of egged on to pee on James's bag and whatnot, and the fight breaks out. The cops come, the bullies, I think they just kind of get pushed away. James gets arrested. Bob gets taken into police custody and put away in an animal shelter for the time being. And then you find out that James is banned from busking. He's eventually returned. Bob comes back, and so James can't busk anymore. That's how he makes his living. But he finds out that there's a local paper called The Big Issue. He goes there, he gets into the program so he can sell the papers. You're not supposed to go into anyone other's territory. I don't know if your town has them, but I know where I live, there are areas where homeless people or people who are less fortunate, they'll sell papers for $1 at intersections. I don't see it so much anymore, but I've seen those, and it helps so people can buy another round of papers and then kind of create their own business and then get a better footing back into, workplace and getting back into life. So a couple approaches James to get a photo with him and Bob, but in somebody else's area. They asked to buy a paper from him, and he said, no, you need to speak with the gentleman over there. And they take a paper from him and force the money into his pocket. The gentleman sees it and turns him in, and James gets turned away from being able to sell the papers. So it becomes a big ordeal. James is struggling for money, and he returns to busking. You find that Betty sees him on the street and confronts him. You're going to get put in jail, you're going to lose Bob. Is all this really worth it? And he kind of sees that it's not, and does what he can to, get back on just a stable footing. He returns to The Big Issue. A problem occurs when he returns back to work. A lady sees him with Bob and fell in love with the cat, and she's there with her child, and the kid wants Bob, and she offers to buy the cat, take him to a better home, and James is, in my opinion, rightfully so offended. She, offers to pay him X amount of money, and he's like, well, he's my cat, he's my friend, sell me your kid, or, trade me your kid. And she's like, how dare you, for me, my cat, Bill, he's one of my best buddies, and, I wouldn't want to trade him for anything that I have, or that I could have. He's a fun little guy to be around, so I can see where the frustration would be. And then a ruckus ends up happening, a bit of a scuffle where a dog comes up and Bob runs away. So James is real worried, trying to find Bob. He comes home and he finds Bob back at the house. At this point, James is trying to kick the whole methadone thing. Betty had found out that he was an addict and that he was trying to better himself. That, it's one of those, you're an addict and you didn't tell me, and how can I ever trust you? And, I was falling in love with you, and now I don't know what to believe. He ends up kicking the methadone. There's a whole part of the film where you see him going through the withdrawals. Bob's there with him the whole time. Betty helps because, she likes Bob, she likes animals. And so Betty helps to kind of get him back on his feet. I guess she sees, where her brother had failed in, getting past this disease, that it could have been better if somebody were there to help. So she does that, gives him advice. Looks after Bob if Bob goes out or something like that. So he ends up getting clean. He comes back one day. Betty's getting ready to move out. At this point, they exchange information, to keep in touch with one another. James is out busking again. Videos go up on the internet that he is out there with his cat, and it's creating crowds and people love it. A lady who used to see him busk with Bob saw it and decided to reach out to him to get a book going, get a story. And so that's how this all came to be. James gets the book going. He's seen all over. He returns to his father's to just kind of say, look, I'm clean, I'm doing great. I just want you to know that, and if you hate me or if you gave up on me, I get it and I understand. I was terrible. There's an emotional moment between his father and him, and he's like, I never gave up on you. He pulls out his wallet and he's like, I don't need your money. And he pulls out a photo of his son. So, he's still there in his life. His father still thinks about him all the time. And then the stepmother chimes in, like, who is it? And he's like, I'm talking with my son. So it's like a, reconfirming that relationship moment. It's really, really good in the film. So at the end of the film, there is a book signing where, the book came out. People are coming to meet James and Bob. Betty's there, Val's there, the dad's there. Everyone, he knows who's still kicking around is there. All his fans. And one thing that I thought was funny, and if you know the story, if you read the book or anything like that, the real James is in this very small part where people are coming through to get the signing, and the real James approaches and he puts the book down. He's like, I really like the book. I feel like I have lived every moment of it. And it was just kind of like a funny little nod to, him being in that, and a little joke. A great film all around. I give it 4 stars. I recommend it for anyone. The film is not rated. It's not riddled with profanity or any Like, there's no nudity or anything like that. There is some drug use in the film. You don't see anything specific or like a needle going in the arm. You see somebody with a needle, you see somebody with drugs, or you see a drug dealer, but you never see the actual graphic details. That they, I guess, didn't rate it because that alone would have been enough to get an R or something like that. So, I mean, I don't believe that films should be rated in general. I think that should be left up to the discretion of who's viewing the film, or, if it's a more adult film, that the parent should be more inclined to give direction on what it is that should be watched. I understand a point of a rating system, but this film is not rated. So hopefully that doesn't deter anyone from watching it. It is a great film. Happens around Christmas times, things like that. So there's also a second Street Cat Named Bob film I want to check out. It has the same actor in it. And I believe here recently, or maybe within the past year, the real Bob died. They were out and about, James and Bob, and he got hit by a car. So Bob's not around anymore, but we still have the story, still have the movie. So it's, something to watch, check it out. There were a couple of songs in the film, it has a pretty good soundtrack and score. There's one song, and I'll link these in the description below. First song's called Satellite Moments, which is kind of like a, it's a key song for the film. It's just a song about all those little moments that literally just pass by that you don't think to stop and just appreciate, because by the time you even get a chance to think, I should appreciate this moment, it's gone. So it's a really good song. And then the second song is titled Second Time Around, and it really does have a good like sort of Eddie Vedder meets Lindsey Buckingham vibe, and really enjoyed that. But as I said, I'm going to link these in the description below. Guys, gals, if you had seen this movie, read the book, anything like that, if you've seen the second movie and you want to jot down a little something, comment below. Yeah, just comment below. Let me know what you thought of the movie. Do you want to check it out? Give this thing a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell, let you know when I have new videos coming up. But anywho, thank you all for stopping by my channel, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.